I love drawing. Loads of people do, and one of the things that we mostly draw on is paper. But I don't really like paper because it's flimsy and you've got to frame it behind glass, which is where this came in. This is an encaustic board panel made by Ampersand, and this was fantastic for drawing on. It was great. The only problem was it's a touch expensive. It's great at this size, but what if you want to do something bigger? And that's where this comes in. I found this online. It's a chalky finish furniture paint. I'm not sure how good this is actually going to be, so this video is all about testing it and seeing if this will be a good alternative to encaustic panel and create a surface that I can spray on some wood and create a really nice surface to draw on. This is a wood panel that I prepared myself, and I made this using some MDF and it's coated with gesso. This is no good to draw on by itself because it's too slippy and the charcoal doesn't really stick to it. So I'm going to give this a spray and see if I can create a really cool drawing surface that's affordable but also as good a quality as I need. Now, to compare the difference between these, I've got to keep it fair. So to do that, I'm going to do a little bit of a masking tape line down the middle to make sure that it's separate, so we can see the difference between the gesso and the spray. So here it is. We've got the masking tape side and I've got the plain side. I'm now going to take this and go and spray it. Obviously I'm not going to spray it inside, I'm not stupid. I'm going to go outside and spray it with a mask on so I don't inhale loads of toxic fumes and die. And then I'll come back and I'll see what it looks like. I look a little different because I've changed because we're going to a pub quiz, but I have also got this, and I've gone and done 3 coats of the spray on it. And now for my favourite part, I'm going to just attempt to peel off the back, the tape, so I can feel the difference between just the regular gesso and then this spray. I would film an aesthetic shot, but I don't think it's going to be majorly aesthetic because it's white. So I'm just going to peel it off. Ooh, there's lots of like chalky stuff coming off, which is a good thing. I don't know if you can see my fingers, but like they're covered in like a chalky bit. I'm going to hold that up and you might just be able to see the difference. This is the just regular gesso side. This is the sprayed side here. And I mean, when you feel the two, it definitely feels chalkier and grittier than this. Whether it's actually going to take the charcoal any differently is another story. But that's going to be a job for tomorrow because I've got to leave this for 16 hours to dry to be completely hard. And I don't want to be scratching through the surface with the charcoal or with any of the erasers or any of the tools that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to let this dry properly and then come back to it fresh in the morning and have a little play around on this panel. I'm really excited to see if it will work. I'm a little bit unsure at the moment. It might not, but fingers crossed. See what happens. It's a new day. I'm feeling a little bit worse for wear. I had a few too many beers last night, but we're gonna test out this panel and see how it works with the charcoal. So this side is the gessoed side. So I'm actually gonna just gesso on there, and then this side is the sprayed side. And I mean, already I can see a difference between how nicely that charcoal goes on, which is a good sign because I was a little bit concerned that this wouldn't make a difference, but it does seem to be making a little bit of a difference. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just come on with my vine charcoal and just have a little test of that. And it looks pretty similar. I think maybe this is taking a little bit more of the charcoal into the surface than this, which is a bit sort of surprising. I'm just going to do a little bit of a blend. I'm actually going to blend with the brush and just see how they blend in. So there's that. And then here is this. So it seems to sort of not stick to the surface as much, which is okay, because if you look, you can get slightly more value shifts. So you can get some quite nice subtle bits of charcoal there, whereas with this one, as you start to get into the sort of like more subtle areas, you don't get that nice neat blend, or as nice neat a blend as you do over here, which is quite cool. And also you can see some of the brush marks and the lines here from the gesso. Even though I've sanded this panel down, it's still not really as smooth as this spray. So the other technique that I like to do is, let me just get a bit of charcoal on here, is blend with my finger. And on the encaustic board, the proper panels, this goes quite dark. Whereas on here, it's not quite going as dark. And you can still see some of those sort of brush strokes showing through, like here and here, but it's not as obvious as this. So I then just get my little brush. Let's see what happens if we start to build up some more charcoal over the top of those. See if it makes a difference. So that side is definitely getting darker. Whereas this side is sort of sticking at the same darkness. So we can't go super dark with that vine charcoal, which is it's sort of an issue, but it's not a major issue. So I'm now going to just take the charcoal pencil, and this is what I normally use for details. So if I'm coming in and like I want something really dark, so this we can't get completely smooth. You can see a lot of the grain showing through. Let's see what happens if I do it on this side. So it's still got some of that grain, but it is a little bit neater. Let's see what happens if we just pop a little bit over this section here. And over here. So one thing that I like to try and do is blend things together with blending stumps. So let me just blend this and see if we can get it looking a bit darker. And I mean, that looks pretty dark to me on the just regular gesso side, but if we start to come over the bit that was just vine charcoal, it doesn't really blend in very well. It sort of just scrapes away the vine charcoal underneath. Let's test this side. So it feels a lot smoother to me, but again, it's not really leaving that smooth finish that you'd get on like paper. But then when I do the blending stump over the top of the vine charcoal, it does create a little bit of a smoother transition. Also, it doesn't seem to be as shiny on this side. A technique that I like to use for like fur and things is I will take the blending stump and I'll actually draw with it. So I'll draw some like strands of fur. When I want some lines that are sort of like softer, not as sharp, and they have a few like transitions in them. So that looks okay on the gesso. Let's see how it looks on here. It feels nicer, but not quite as nice as paper. But we are getting a little bit more of a uniform finish to it, and I have a feeling that it's going to be easier to erase. So I'm now going to get my putty eraser. So on the gesso side, I can erase it, but I can't get it back to that pure white very easily. Let's see what we get over here. Like, I can't erase that dark stuff at all with the putty eraser. Come in, and I should, in theory, be able to erase some of those strands. Let's now try on the sprayed surface. So that goes a lot closer to white than this side. A lot closer. We can erase that really easily. I don't think we're still going to be able to erase that. Yeah, we can't erase the pencil marks because that's just ingrained into that surface. Let's see how we do with this. That erases pretty nicely. So let me just put a big blob of charcoal down. And blow all that dust away. So it does have a slightly more uniform finish. So let me just erase this, put some lines in there. So I'm just using a Tombow eraser here. I use this as well for some fur details. Let's have a look. It does erase much cleaner from this side, and I think you can achieve a few more different values. I think the shifts in the values that you get are much greater with this side compared to this side. This side, it's like you can either scrape it off or leave it on, and you get a grey, but not pure white. But then it's either dark or light. That's it. Whereas this side, you can get a few more value transitions, and it's those subtleties in those transitions, the subtleties between going from dark to light and creating those different values that really, really make a charcoal drawing pop, because you're using black and white. So the only things that you can really do are play with those values. And the reason that I don't really just work over the top of gessoed panels is because you can't get enough values. You're sort of like limited to like sort of 6 or 7 different values. Whereas, so everything looks like really high contrast. Whereas with paper, you can get nearly an unlimited range of values. You can get a lot more subtlety, and this mimics that. So you do have that subtlety in there, but I don't think it mimics it as well as the encaustic board. But it's definitely better than just gesso by itself. I'm a little bit disappointed, really, because I thought it was going to be this amazing solution. Like, I saw it and I was like, oh my god, this is going to fix everything. And unfortunately, it didn't. It's almost there. It's almost got it. It like feels a little bit chalkier, but it's not holding on to that charcoal as much as like the encaustic board gesso does. And so I think my next step on my journey of discovery of this medium is to get some encaustic gesso and give that a try. But the only problem with that is encaustic gesso is also expensive. So it doesn't really fix the problem of needing a cheap alternative. However, if you are investing a lot of time and effort into creating pieces that you're hopefully going to sell, does it really matter how much the raw materials cost? If you're going to earn more money than you use, then it doesn't really matter anyway, and you probably should invest in good quality materials, especially for work that you're trying to sell. Maybe not for studies that are never going to ever see the light of day, in which case this spray paint would probably do the job. Or for those sketches like that, you could just quite easily do it on paper. They're sketches that are never going to be seen, never going to be sold, so what does it matter what you do them on? But for bigger pieces and more saleable pieces, I definitely need to start looking at some other alternatives to the paper, just because I don't like framing them behind glass. It's super expensive. It's not very good for shipping anywhere. So getting them done on panels like this will be huge. I just need to find a surface that I can actually draw on, that I can make myself, because I don't think ampersand encaustic boards go as big as I would like them to, so I need to be able to make my own. Anyway, enough rambling. I know we haven't really come to a conclusion. I mean, it's not really a sprayable paper, but it does kind of improve it from just the gesso. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.